BNP's chairman, Nick Griffin, I started by asking him whether he'd been in Burnley in the last couple of weeks.
I was there the day before last. Before that, I hadn't been up there for several months.
What were you trying to do?
I was there talking with local people, ordinary members of the public, plus our local members, finding out what they had to say about the situation.
And given what you had to say about the situation, how can your presence there have been said in any way to contribute to calm?
Because a lot of the tension that's built up in Burnley is a result of the fact that white people have felt for years they've got no political voice. By providing them with a political voice, we take the tension out and make them think, well, perhaps there's something we can do politically instead of taking to the streets.
How does a call to boycott Asian businesses help anything?
That was made specifically in Oldham in relation to the fact that people were saying, what are we going to do about the fact that 30 white pubs in the town have been smashed up? And a lot of whites were saying, we'll go and smash up their shops. And we said specifically, don't attack shops, that's utterly futile. If you want to make a protest, boycott their shops so that the Asian businessmen will pressure the community leaders to pressure the young thugs to stop attacking white pubs.
How does advocating that Asian people should move out of predominantly white areas and that white people should move out of Asian neighbourhoods and that walls be built to keep the peace, how does that contribute to calm?
Well, it's not just the British National Party advocating that. The proposal first came from Parmjit Upal, who's the government's advisor on housing.
I'm quoting you there.
Yes, yeah, certainly. But he said too that many members of the ethnic minorities would feel safer in their own areas. And we know that plenty of white people feel the same way. There's already... Well, what's happening at present, Jeremy, is worse in Oldham and Burnley and towns like that. White people are being forced out of their homes by Asian racists, and Asian people are being forced out of their homes by white racists. Unless they're moved peacefully to divide the communities, as the British state has done in Belfast, then they're going to be moved by violence, which nobody wants to see.
So, essentially, what you would like to see is a form of apartheid in this country?
We don't want to see apartheid. We want to see communities separated by enough space so that there's not this constant friction, which is what leads to people being hurt.
Along the lines of the peace line in Belfast?
Very much along the lines of the peace lines in Belfast.
Have you ever seen the peace line?
Pardon?
You ever seen the peace line?
I spent time in Belfast, yes.
And you'll be aware of what a monstrous edifice it is.
Have you ever seen a burnt-out house where people have been forced out of their homes because they were living in the wrong area? A peace line is better than burnt-out houses.
And you're seriously advocating that peace lines be built in cities across this country? Well,
the Liberal Democrat Council in Oldham has already built one, and we're saying they built that to protect Asians. Fair enough. There's white areas under threat of racial attack too, and if the white residents there want them, they should build them there as well.
And you think Northern Ireland is an advertisement for a happy, tranquil society?
No, Northern Ireland shows what happens when a multicultural society breaks down, and it's the Liberals in the media, the Liberals and the politicians who have created a multiracial society in Britain against the wishes of the British people. This is your problem. You created this mess.
Who's you?
You, Ivory Tower Liberals in the media, basically, Jeremy.
We have created this problem.
Yes, you created a multiracial society telling everyone it'll work, it's an experiment, it's great. And people like myself have warned for years, saying multiracial societies very often end in violence. The chickens are now coming home to roost.
Mr. Griffin, the British people have had an opportunity at every single general election to vote for people who advocated the sort of racist stuff you're talking about, and they have failed to take that opportunity.
We are not racists. That's entirely untrue. They haven't taken the opportunity because for many years...
Okay, let me explore this question of whether you're...
We'll explore the question.
You've made an assertion that people have not been given a choice. I've merely pointed out to you they've had choices in election, after election after election. Let's explore this question of race.
No, well, on which side of
one of your lines... On which side of one of your lines would a Polish immigrant live?
On the white side, obviously.
And you say that is not evidence of a racial perspective on that?
No, because I'll tell you this. I was in Oldham 4 days ago in the home of a mixed-race couple who were on the white side of the line, and they were with me quite happily because their home, as well as their white neighbours, has been attacked by Asian thugs repeatedly, night after night after night. So they too would be on the white side of the line. Also, stop saying Asians. It's not a question of Asian versus white. This is a Muslim problem. There's Hindus in Oldham who've been burnt out of their houses and pushed out. There's West Indians who've been pushed out of their houses as well. This isn't an Asian problem. This is a Muslim problem.
When you say, as you said in Wales on Sunday in 1996, all black people will be repatriated, your word, even if they are born here. What is that if it is not racist?
That was the party line which I had no choice but to say at the time. That's all I was asked, what the British National Party believe. That has now changed. We don't have a policy of compulsory repatriation.
And when did it stop being racist then?
When I became chairman of the British National Party and put it to the membership and a democratic vote that was no longer possible, that it wasn't fair, and that all we need to preserve Britain as a predominantly British country is to stop immigration and to make it possible for those non-whites who want to go home. For the rest of them, if they want to stay here and obey our laws, then we have no problem with them staying.
Mr. Griffin, let me ask you a simple question. If one of your children fell in love with a Muslim or an Asian, what would you do?
I would be very unhappy about it because I'd see two very distinct lines with their own heritage and their own culture being destroyed. It would be a great shame.
Do you think that is a greater consideration than the fact that they might be in love?
When you're talking about human beings, you've got to take all sorts of things into consideration, of course. But what I can tell you is I know that many Asian parents would be every bit as upset as I would be.
I'm not asking you about Asian parents, I'm asking you about you.
Well, I'm just telling you that the desire to stay basically with your own people is a very strong human instinct.
Would you allow a child of yours to marry somebody of a different race?
Children aren't children, they're adults. They do what they want, don't they?
But it would cause you distress.
Of course it would. As it would many Asians and black people too.
Mr. Griffin, thank you.
Thank you very much.